Doesn't it seem like avoidants always pull away just when things are starting to get good? That is not a coincidence. It's simply part of how avoidant attachment works. Now, what if I told you there's a simple way to dramatically reduce how often that happens? I'm not talking about manipulating them or convincing them to stay when they want to leave. I'm talking about changing the way that you respond so they stop feeling the need to run in the first place. And here's the surprising part. The avoidance off button isn't some clever text message or psychological trick. It's space. But before you click away thinking that you've heard this advice 1,000 times already, stay with me. Because almost everyone gives an avoidance space the wrong way. And when you do, it can actually make the situation worse. So I'm going to show you why avoidants pull away, what they actually need during those periods, and what you can do to stop every bit of distance from turning into a full-blown crisis. And for those of you who usually watch my channel because you're trying to get an ex back, don't worry, because everything we're talking about today applies after a breakup as well. In fact, avoidant behavior often becomes even more obvious once the relationship ends. So if your avoidant ex keeps disappearing, coming back, and disappearing again, this is for you. Most people make their biggest mistake with avoidance long before the avoidant ever pulls away. They spend the entire relationship trying to prevent it from happening in the first place. They walk on eggshells, they avoid difficult conversations, they hide how much they care, they constantly worry about coming across as needy or asking for too much because they're terrified of making the avoidant feel overwhelmed. Now, slowing things down is often the right move, especially early in a relationship. But there's a big difference between pacing yourself and constantly censoring who you really are. If you're always biting your tongue, holding back your affection, or pretending that you need less than you actually do, you're creating a relationship where really neither person can ever truly relax. And eventually, that starts wearing down both of you. You also can't completely prevent an avoidant from becoming overwhelmed. In fact, they're often triggered when the relationship is going really well, after an amazing weekend together, after you become more intimate, after you've shared something vulnerable or maybe started picturing a future together. The stronger the connection becomes, the more likely they are to create some distance. So yes, take things slowly if the relationship is new. That is good advice. But don't spend the entire relationship trying not to trigger them because you'll drive yourself crazy. It won't work anyways. I'd rather show you what to do when they do inevitably pull away, because that's the moment that usually determines where the relationship goes next. Maybe you've experienced this yourself. Let's say you've been seeing someone for a little while and you've just spent an incredible weekend together. Maybe it was your first trip away together. Maybe it was the first time you slept in the same bed and woke up beside each other. Whatever it was, it felt easy, natural, like the relationship had taken a real step forward. And then you go home and you don't hear from them. A day passes, then another. No texts, no calls, no explanation. Now your brain immediately starts looking for an explanation. Did I say something wrong? Did I come on too strong? Did I reveal something that made them lose interest? And you replay every conversation in your head, looking for the moment where everything supposedly went off the rails. And eventually the pressure starts to build. You tell yourself you're not going to reach out, but the silence gets louder with every passing day. And if you've ever dated an avoidant, you know exactly what that feels like. And at that point, most people fall into one of two or three groups. Now the first group are the ones who get angry. They finally reach out and they give the avoidant a piece of their mind. Really, you're just going to disappear? The least you could do is to tell me what's going on. Now, if your goal is to push an avoidant even further away, then that is usually a very effective strategy. And most of you watching already know that, so we can probably cross that one off the list. Now, the second group tries to keep things light. They tell themselves they're just checking in, so they send a casual text. Hey, how's your week going? Hope everything's okay. It sounds harmless, but underneath that message is another question they're desperate to have answered. Do you still want me? Now, sometimes they get no reply at all. Other times the avoidant responds, but it's short, it's flat, and it gives them almost nothing to work with. And suddenly that one text becomes proof that the relationship is falling apart, and their anxiety only gets worse. And then there's the third group. Those are the people that don't reach out at all. They stay silent because they've heard they're supposed to give the avoidant space, but they're miserable the whole time. And they're checking their phone every few minutes, wondering when that avoidant is finally going to come back, counting the days, and just trying to survive the silence. Now, really, none of these approaches solves the real problem. If every time your avoidant partner needs a few days to themselves, it feels like you're walking across hot coals just to get through it, the relationship is eventually going to break under that pressure. Not because the avoidant needed space, but because neither of you has found a healthy way to deal with what happens when they do. So let's talk a bit about how to actually change that. Now, the first thing you need to do is change the way you interpret what's actually happening. When an avoidant goes quiet for a few days, your first instinct is probably to assume the worst. You tell yourself the silence means that they've lost interest, that they're having second thoughts, or maybe they're looking for a way out. But if you're dealing with somebody who is truly, genuinely avoidant, that is not what's happening. Think about it this way. If you disappeared for 3 days, it would probably mean something was seriously wrong. So it's only natural to assume the same thing when they do it. But avoidants don't experience closeness the same way. When things start feeling intense, pulling back is often their way of settling themselves down. They need a little breathing room before the relationship starts feeling comfortable again. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. Sometimes relationships really are over. Sometimes avoidants lose interest just like anyone else. But don't assume that's what's happening just because they've gone quiet for a couple of days. I see people make this mistake all the time after a breakup. Their avoidant ex disappears, they convince themselves it's over, and they panic. They send a long message explaining how hurt they are, asking where things stand, or just trying to get some reassurance. And instead, they interrupt the exact process that would have helped the avoidant come back on their own. And that is exactly why I call space the avoidance off button. Not because space magically fixes every relationship, but because it gives the avoidant a chance to settle down before those feelings of pressure grow into something much bigger. And if you're sitting there staring at your phone, wondering whether you should send another text, don't. Give it another day. See what happens. You'd be amazed at how often an avoidant reaches out on their own once they no longer feel that pressure building. But truly understanding what's going on is really only half the battle. So imagine your partner tells you they've got a brutal week ahead. They've got deadlines piling up, a big presentation coming up, and they're probably going to be hard to reach for a few days. Now, you probably wouldn't love hearing that, but you'd understand it, right? You'd tell them to focus on what they need to do, and you'll catch up again when life settles down. Now, dating an avoidant isn't exactly the same, but really the basic idea does still apply. When they become overwhelmed by the relationship, they need a little room to settle themselves down. If they feel like they have to manage your anxiety while they're trying to manage their own discomfort, the pressure only gets worse. And once you start looking at it that way, it becomes a lot easier to not take the silence so personally. Now, I know what you are thinking. That's great, Brad, but my avoidant never tells me they need space. I know. Most avoidants don't sit you down and say, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I just need a few days to myself. They just become quieter. They text less. They seem a little distant. Now, I wish there was some magic sentence you could teach them that would fix this overnight, but of course there isn't. But after you've been with them for a while, though, you start noticing the pattern. You can almost see it coming. And once you recognize what's happening, you're much less likely to react in a way that makes everything worse. Now, let me be clear about something. I'm not telling you to accept a relationship where you constantly feel ignored or neglected or like your needs don't matter. There is a difference between someone needing a little breathing room and somebody who's simply unwilling to be a good partner. What I am saying is that if you really care about this person, try handling their withdrawals differently for a while and just see what changes. You might find they start coming back sooner. You might find that they don't withdraw as much or as often because they no longer feel like every bit of distance is going to end in conflict. Or you might realize that dating an avoidant simply isn't for you. And that is perfectly fine too. But at least then, you'll know you're making that decision based on what's really happening, not because you misunderstood the way avoidants work. And while all this is happening, please don't lose sight of yourself. People who struggle the most with avoidance usually have a more anxious attachment style themselves. And when things are going well, they feel secure. But when an avoidance suddenly pulls away, that sense of security disappears almost instantly. And that's why a few days of silence can feel so overwhelming. And if that's you, don't spend those few days sitting around staring at your phone. Don't keep checking to see if they viewed your story or wondering whether today is finally going to be the day they text you. Go and see your friends. Get outside. Go to the gym. Throw yourself into work. Maybe pick up that hobby you've always been neglecting. The point is, don't put your whole life on hold waiting for them to text you. This isn't about playing games. It's about building a life that doesn't fall apart every time an avoidant needs a little bit of space. And really, that's what pressing that off button looks like. Every time you resist the urge to chase them, demand reassurance, or panic because they've gone quiet, you're taking pressure out of the relationship instead of adding more to it. And eventually they do reach out. And that is where a lot of people actually make another mistake. When an avoidant disappears, they usually know that they've disappeared. They know you've noticed. And a lot of them feel guilty about it too. They've been through this before. They've lost relationships and friendships because of this exact pattern. So by the time they're thinking about reaching back out, They're already expecting you to be angry. Now, unfortunately, that guilt doesn't usually bring them back any faster. If anything, it makes them hesitate because they're worried about what they're coming back to. But the mistake that I see all the time is people treating the avoidance return as their one opportunity to finally get answers. So the moment they come back, they unload everything they've been thinking about the last few days. And I get it. You've been waiting for this conversation the whole time, but it's usually, it's almost always the wrong moment to have it. If you're building a long-term relationship together, you absolutely should talk about these patterns. You should explain how their disappearance affects you and work together to find a healthier way of handling them. But don't try to solve the whole relationship 5 minutes after they've come back. Reconnect with them first. And then once you're both in a better place, that is the time to have the bigger conversation. Remember when I said the avoidance off button is space? Well, this is the other half of that. Giving them space while they're gone matters, but making it feel safe to come back matters really just as much. And over time, they stop feeling like they have to protect themselves from the relationship. They realize they can take a little space without everything blowing up afterwards. And once that pressure starts to disappear, they usually don't feel the same need to keep pulling away. Now, everything we've talked about so far in this video here applies inside a relationship. But if you are trying to get an ex back, then this all becomes even more important. One of the biggest mistakes that people make after a breakup is assuming that silence means rejection. And with an avoidant, that is often not what's happening. Sometimes they're simply doing what they've always done. They're taking space to settle themselves down. So give them the opportunity to do that. Then let them come back on their own instead of trying to force the process before it's had a chance to work. Now, if you need some help figuring out exactly what to do in your specific unique situation, head over to breakupbrad.com/plan and use my free custom X-Back plan tool. Just answer a few questions about your breakup and it'll create a personalized strategy based on your unique situation. Try it out for yourself now at breakupbrad.com/plan. Thank you so much for watching, guys. See you again soon.